Hi, everyone. We want to thank you for joining us today to learn why you should stage your home. And I just want to let you know we're going to be active in the chat where we're going to put a PowerPoint, which is already there, that you can follow along with us as we go. And you can ask any questions. You can put it in the chat as well. And I want to let everybody know we are recording it. So what we are going to send you after the presentation is finished, we'll email you a video recap with the presentation, along with any resources that we discussed. We'll send that along in the email. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm your host today. I'm Michelle Silverman with Views of La Jolla. I'm a global luxury realtor with Coldwell Banker. I've been selling real estate for over 30 years, and I want to share with you my experience and my knowledge. And welcome to our third webinar of the year of 2021. And just to let you know, I'm doing this each month, and I'm going to have different experts in the industry and outside of the industry come in. So keep looking at the calendar and check out the events. But what I'm so excited to introduce is our expert today, who is Carol Kaplan. She is the founder of Everything Creative, which is the leading luxury staging company in Southern California. And she has been in staging for 15 years in the industry. Not only does she do staging, she also does design. So Carol, I'm going to give it to you to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go on into the questions.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I'm really honored to be here. And hopefully I'll be able to sort of give everybody an idea of what actually staging does to help you sell your home. And as you said, I've been in the business for 15 years. I started on my own, and eventually we have grown and grown. And now we have 22 people on our team. We have our own full-time movers. We have a 15,000 square foot warehouse. We change our inventory with all the trends. We try to keep up with kind of everything that's going on at the moment. And we stage anything from small little condos to very high-end luxury homes. So nothing is too small or too large for us.
Oh, that's exciting. So you are one of my favorite staging companies that I use, and I love what you do. And the first question I want to ask you, do homes truly sell faster when they're staged?
Absolutely. There is not even a discussion. You know, we've now keeping statistics of everything, and we can see what is going on, especially now. This is a very hot market, but even so, when it wasn't as hot as it is now, our homes would be sold pretty much within the first week, and often for higher than the actual asking price. Now, particularly in this market, everything that we are staging is going for a higher price.
Oh, that's so exciting. And what percentage would you say that when you stage a home, it sells for 73%, I believe?
I would say about 73% faster. Yes, definitely.
And when you walk into a home and you go into a home, what are the steps that you do? What is the vision that you create to maximize the potential of that house?
Okay, so basically I start from the curb appeal, which I think is very, very important, because you want to walk up to the house and feel that, you know, this looks beautiful outside and it's manicured, and so that the inside is now going to be comparable with the outside. When I walk into the house, I always take in the architecture of the house into account. I look to see what the demographic is. I always, consult with the buyer or the realtor, specifically the realtor, what the demographic is, who's going to be buying this house. So if it's a young family, obviously I'm going to stage it with that kind of look that will appeal to a young family. If it's in another area where it's going to be bought by a couple, I'm obviously not going to have a young kids room. So it's all depending on the demographic. It depends on the architecture of the home as well. And we try to marry the furniture to the architecture of the home.
That's great. I think the idea, the way you stage the furniture to give the maximum view, if it's a view home, so many times you look at homes that the furniture is facing out, and you guys specifically stage it for the furniture going in, correct?
Exactly. The thing is, you've got to get that impact and that wow factor, because you've got, I think it's approximately 6 seconds for somebody to actually fall in love with the house as they walk in. If it doesn't sort of, give them that wow factor immediately, they're not so keen. So it's got to have impact when you walk in. If it's a view house, I'm very specific about moving the patio furniture to the side so people look right out at the view and not looking at patio furniture.
Oh, that's so smart, because how many times have we looked at a home and the furniture is blocking your vision?
Exactly. So those are things that we take into consideration. And, it's not practical. Staging isn't for living. But that's the way that you get people to be interested in the home and to see themselves living in this particular environment. You want it for them to feel excited about seeing themselves in the home.
Yes. Now, we sort of touched on it earlier, but quarantine, how staging a home during quarantine changed the way you did your business?
So it was a complete change for us, because the first 2 months of quarantine, we were closed down completely. After that, we became essential, like the realtors. Funnily enough, we became an essential worker, so right. We could work alongside you. Obviously, we had to stick to all the guidelines, and we didn't do occupied homes during that time. We felt it wasn't fair. We didn't know it. Nobody really knew where COVID was going, and how contagious it was. We all wore masks, and we stuck to the guidelines, but we were very skeptical about doing occupied homes. Now that people are being vaccinated and things are opening up a little bit, we are going back into doing occupied homes. Staging a vacant home is absolutely fine. There's nobody there. And we do ask people, if we come into their home and they are living there, not to be there while we are staging, for their sake and for ours and our staff.
And you had mentioned that when you stage a home now that's occupied, you used to bring in all the linens, you used to bring in certain things. Now you have this seller provided. Right.
So what we can do is we can provide it, but the seller has to purchase it from us, because we won't bring it back into our warehouse, because we don't know. And I don't want to bring anything back here that could cause, any kind of, infection or anything in the warehouse.
Totally agree. Sometimes the seller needs to get the home ready to put on the market. I mean, I know this, how many times you've gotten consultations prior to the seller putting it on the market. What are your top 5 things that you normally suggest to a seller to improve the look of the house that will make it sell quicker?
Okay, so the biggest thing is, if it's an occupied home, people need to declutter. People don't want to look at what you've got sitting on the countertops. You want to be able to see the architecture of the house and see yourself in the home. Taking personal photos away. You don't want people walking in and looking at the personal photo and saying, oh, I went to school with them, and then they forget that, I've come to look at the house, and they sort of get,
Or they don't like the people
that live in the house. So, and also, you don't really want people to know whose house it is, It could be somebody, a high profile person, and you certainly don't want anybody to know whose home it is. So I always say depersonalize the home, declutter the home, see that everything, all your countertops are neat and tidy, nothing on them. We can always add a few little accessories to it just to make it look nice. And then also I look at the paint. Paint is very important today. Everybody wants light and bright. And if your house hasn't been painted for many, many years, and you've got red walls and yellow walls and green walls, I always suggest that you paint the house white, because it's a blank canvas for somebody else to come into. And with accessories and artwork, it really gives the house, a great pop, but you've got this great canvas to work with.
Now, do you have contractors and painters that you recommend, or do you have the realtor recommend who they use?
Well, we do have our own contractors and painters and people that we use. And, it's absolutely up to, they don't have to use ours. But I mean, sometimes the realtors have their own, but we do have all the resources for that as well.
That's great. When you look at a house, and what are the primary rooms that you generally stage?
So your main rooms as you walk into the house. So it'll always be like the entrance, the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, because all women want to see what their kitchens are going to be like, or where they're going to be spending their time. The family room, if there's a family room, is also very important. And I always think that the master is one of the very important rooms to stage, because that's your sanctuary. That's your end of your day where you put your head down and you go to sleep, and you want to be able to feel that this is a relaxing environment. The secondary bedrooms are not always essential to do unless it's an odd shape or it's very tiny and we want to make it look bigger. But I would always say the main rooms are the most important. And if you've got a nice patio, it's great to be able to show outdoor living. And also today, with people being, at home more than they've ever been, I think it's also important to have flex spaces, like places for the parents to work, places for the children to be able to work as well.
And also, do you find that because everybody's looking at home differently now, it's like you said, you have a school area for kids. If now they're going back to school, but you had to include that. You have a gym. Are gyms important, and the pool area making it look inviting?
Definitely. I think it's so important. We're doing a lot of gyms, a lot of workout areas, yoga rooms and gyms. I think that people, because they couldn't go out and couldn't get to the gym, people set up gyms at home. I mean, it was hard to get gym equipment. You couldn't buy weights or, anything that you really needed. And I think that those rooms are essential. And if you can't do them in your house, is to set up an area in your garage that you can spend an hour sort of getting away from everything and just having that peace and quiet and working out.
I totally agree. Because I think home buyers are looking at homes differently today. And I think a home that is staged in the areas that we are thinking that is more important than they were 6, 7, 8 months ago, a year ago, it is more enticing for them to fall in love.
I think so too, because if the mom is at home now, or now that the kids are going back to school, but during COVID, when the mom was at home or both parents were at home, the husband needed somewhere to work, the wife needed to be with the children, so they needed these special spaces where each one could have their time to be able to work in a quiet environment. So we've kind of carried this through, and we've put desks in kids' rooms. We've added desks, adjoining a kitchen, so that there's workspaces for the parents and the children. And, just to give people ideas of what they can do if they are at home.
Right. And the number one question I get from my sellers is always cost, is budget. What is a typical cost to have a typical home staged that you charge, and are there different flexibility in your budgets?
It's what they, the thing is that it all depends. We work it on size, where it is, the selling price of the home. Obviously, we take into account, because if it's a luxury home, obviously we're going to use more luxurious furniture and, a lot more furniture. If it's a little condo, it depends. It can range anything from $2,000 up to, a good $20,000, $30,000, depending on, if we're in ultra luxury homes. Most of the stagings today sort of run between $3,000 and $4,000, sometimes a little bit more. Patios become very, very expensive. So if you want patio furniture today, there is an added cost for that, because literally we're just finding that it becomes disposable. You use it once or twice, and literally we have to throw it away. And that is the most costly thing that we kind of have to buy, and it's disposable.
Do you have a monthly fee as well? What is, if someone was to sign a contract for staging, is it three months and then it becomes monthly? How do you arrange it?
Well, because we used to give 3 months, because things are selling so quickly now, we've gone down to 60 days. But, if somebody needs another 30 days, that's fine. We'll always work with them, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get it through, into escrow. And if there's any, sort of the contingencies have got to be removed, we'll always work with clients, to help them through the process.
And I'm just looking at one of the questions is what are the other costs associated with staging besides the upfront fee? Is there any extra costs afterwards?
It would only be the rent. Once it's been in for the 60 or 90 days, there would be a rental fee for the furniture. But we are finding that it's not even going to the 60 days, most of the homes today. So people are not even paying rent. Before, when things sat a little bit longer on the market, they were into a rental situation. But our rent is very reasonable, and we charge just a nominal amount for the rental, and it's just because our furniture might sit there for a couple of months, and that's the only reason. Obviously everybody does charge a rent.
Another question that I get asked all the time is, when you get going back to when you get your home ready to sell, I know painting's important. What about, should a seller change out fixtures? Should they put new carpet in? I mean, what are the things that would be a must, and what can they sort of maybe not have to do?
So the number one thing I always recommend is the painting, because you always get your money back on that. I think that's the biggest bang for your buck. Carpeting, if the carpet is really, really in bad condition and you've had it cleaned and it just really looks bad, I do suggest putting in carpeting. You don't have to use absolute high end, but as long as it looks really clean and nice. And those are the two things that I do recommend. In a kitchen, sometimes we'll repaint the cabinets, but if we know that this house is going to sell and somebody's going to rip out the kitchen, don't spend the money on it. Maybe just upgrade it with some nice new hardware. And, if the light fixtures are really old, you can buy very, very inexpensive light fixtures, which just gives it a fresh new look.
I think I remember you staging a property for me last year, and the carpet was old, but we weren't going to do anything. So didn't we put like a throw rug over it?
Yes. And the thing is, you could, if you don't want, if the seller doesn't want to do it, you could always give the new buyer credit for that, if they don't want to do it, because somebody might come in and not put carpeting down. They may want flooring. So, I think you have to really think of how much do you want to spend on the house, and what is going to give you the most bang for your buck.
And one of the questions is do you work with the sellers that have their own furnishings in there? If
Yes.
that you work with what they have, so you might
Right.
not bring in as much?
And we definitely could do that. We call that an occupied staging, and it's a redesign. So we really take their furniture and we work with their furniture and bring in other pieces of things just to add to it and give it that extra pop. But we can, obviously if the furniture is really, really not usable, but we do try and pick pieces that we can use and put them in another room or move them around, or, just to give it a different look. But we definitely can do that.
And what do you do? Another question is what do you do when you have a seller that has a definite opinion, wants his house staged, and you're going, that's not the look we want?
The thing is, it's hard to explain to people when they're selling, because it's a sentimental thing. They've probably been there for many years. And I always say to people that, the minute that you put out your house on the market, you really have to divorce yourself from the house. You're not going to be living here. So whether you like the furniture or you don't like the furniture, we know that we have a tried and tested way of selling these homes together with you as the realtor, and we are staging it. We know we're going to sell the house. So the object is getting them to buy into the idea that they've got to divorce themselves from it. They may not love the furniture, but we know that it's going to sell the home.
I always tell a client that if it feels like a hotel, you did it right. Exactly. And it's a means to an end. If you want to sell your house to move on and you want to get your top dollar, you listen to the experts and you listen to the stagers. And you, like you said, you have to divorce yourself from the emotion.
And it's hard. I mean, it's very hard when you've lived in a home and, you've brought up your kids there and you've got this attachment and now you're moving on. And it's very difficult to imagine somebody coming in and just, taking over your home and just, redoing it. And it's not what you really love. But you don't have to love it. You don't have to love the staging, because we know what we use is definitely going to make it sell.
Right. And when you use the seller's own furnishings, is the rate different? Number one. And the other thing is when you put furnishings in, do you ever sell the furniture with the house?
Okay, so number one, the last question that you asked me, yes, we absolutely do sell it. And we found that particularly in the last year where things are really hard to get, we were very, very lucky. I don't know how we managed to do it, but just before COVID hit, we had ordered so much furniture. So we were very lucky that we could, because now there's such a backlog of trying to get furniture. So people have asked us if they can buy furniture. We're very happy to sell, which is also nice because we can then move on and buy, new furniture and also keep up with the trends. Sorry, what was the other question, Michelle?
When you use your own furnishings, the seller's furnishings?
Okay. Is it a different price?
Right.
So number one, it's very much harder to actually do a redesign than to do a vacant, because you're taking people's furniture and you're trying to meld it with what you've got and make it work, because they may have had furniture that's been there for 20 years and we're trying to put in something that's going to update it. So it takes a lot more design skills and a lot more time than doing a vacant staging, because you've got to move it around. You've got to see that it works. Is it in the right position? Does it go with the new furniture? Because it can't just look like a hodgepodge and put anything together.
Right.
We've got to think about the design even more than when we do a vacant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fabulous, Carol. So informative. And I know that whenever I'm listing a home, the first thing I do after I look at it and see the furniture is always have you come in and do a consultation. And when you come in for a consultation, do you charge at all?
So here's what we do. There's two different aspects. If you just want a market-ready consultation and the person doesn't want to stage, we charge $250, because what we do is when we finish the consultation, we send you a complete report of what your home owner needs to do. That's if they don't want to stage. If the person is on board and wants to stage, we come in and we do a free consultation.
Great. That's wonderful.
Right. So the market ready is getting your house ready for going to market. We'll tell you exactly what to do. We'll give you a written, of everything you need to get rid of everything that needs to be changed if they don't want to stage.
And what's the timeline? How long does it take from the time you walked in the door and we sign on the dotted line that the house is going to be staged to get the house ready for market?
Well, the house doesn't have to need anything done and we can just come in and stage it, I would say probably within a week. And sometimes even sooner. It just depends on, sort of what our schedule looks like. But we try to really, if somebody calls us, we like to see them within 24 hours from the time that they called us, and hopefully get them a quote that same day. And then we can normally stage within the week.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And if some work needs to be done, would you say 2 weeks? Or?
I would say 2 weeks, because that just gives you enough time to paint it, clean up, tidy up, and get it looking spick and span for us to come in. I would say maximum 2 weeks with painting, and unless there's anything major that's got to be done.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and you are so knowledgeable and you have a wealth of knowledge. And if you have any resources that we could pass on to our clients that you would think of, let us know. And this was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was such a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure seeing you and being able to work with you. We've had a lot of fun together, and you're really one of my most favorite agents to work with.
Thank you. You were totally awesome. Thank you so much. I'm Michelle Silverman, your global luxury realtor in San Diego for the past 30 years.